Welcome. It is my pleasure to have you here, Arvi, and most welcome to the Estonian General Intelligence podcast.
Thank you for having me.
And let me start with congratulations on being re-elected as a director of the Institute of the Estonian Language.
Thank you so much.
And maybe that is a good place to start. Discuss a little bit about the activities of the Institute, what has been done over the last tenure, and what are the plans going forward?
The Institute has traditionally been active in multiple areas, perhaps the most visible of which is a compilation of dictionaries and related research in lexicology and lexicography. We have also been developing speech synthesis or text-to-speech and doing research in various other areas of linguistics. During this previous 5 years, we enlarged or widened our activities in NLP. We are now coordinating the National Program for Language Technology, distributing funding to people who do research and development. And we develop various related products ourselves, like the dictionary system Egilex or Tõlkevärav, the environment for obtaining translations. And as Estonia is transitioning to the Estonian medium education, we are assisting in that as well. There is a relatively large project taking care of
the discussion of kind of development and advancement of language in the technology as well.
That's good that AI has understood stuff.
Yeah. And now following on this, actually, I would like to take a step back and to talk a little bit about your background and ask kind of your own description of where you've come from, what are the different things that you've done. You've worked in engineering, you work with technology, now you're working with the linguistics and language. What has brought you here, and what have been kind of the key inflection points getting here?
Both of my parents worked at the Institute of Cybernetics here in Tallinn, and I sort of grew up there, punched cards and Fortran, trying to code simple games in Fortran. And when I finished high school, I had no idea what I'm going to do with my life. And studying IT seemed like the most universal thing to do. So I graduated in the year 93 from Tallinn Technical University. I did Pascal exams with chalk and blackboard, with the exam committee emulating a compiler. Those were the times. And already during my studies at the Technical University, I, by complete accident, ended up translating IT stuff. In the beginning, I translated user documentation for chemical plants from Finnish to Russian. Poor Russians who had to cope with that. But in the end of 80s, that was a hugely profitable activity. Clients were abroad, and that was good life. And I did that for just over 10 years. When one spring I was riding my bicycle in Wales, and they have oak forests there. And in the spring, the young leaves of oaks look yellow from a distance. And I was looking, oh, the leaves are yellow. I should go to school. and I should study this thing that I'm doing. If I'm translating, it's sort of language-related activity. Perhaps I should go to Tartu and study linguistics. And I did my MA and PhD in Estonian linguistics in Tartu. In the meantime, also spent 15 years teaching translations at both Tallinn University and Tartu University. So, and then sort of drifted into language technology as well, as it gradually became popular in the 90s. There were first conferences, first curricula were opened in universities. And so I was at the intersection of IT and language in both directions, translating IT texts, including Microsoft user interfaces, for instance, and then being present or observing or like walking along with developments in language technology.
Excellent. Now, I immediately want to jump into kind of a challenging questions or kind of curious questions. And to a certain extent, I almost have to say a bit of a disclaimer that I don't know that much about the linguistics and development of the language and things like this, but at the same time, kind of following the conversation that we're having in Estonia right now about the AI utilization of the Estonian language and using the corpus of Estonian language and the importance of the language in the culture, and also as a subgame into the AI that we'll be talking about in just a second. One question that kind of getting into this is what has been the biggest change, or what has been the kind of the biggest transformation that you've seen since going to college, since doing those translation activities and everything like this, and that you see in the field right now?
Language models, of course. When it started, it was all rule-based, and then gradually becoming statistical. Translation, for instance, they tried prescribing what should a good translation look like, and then they tried to perform statistics on what good translations actually do look like. And both of these were mostly usable as jokes or as insults to human translators. I used to say that you are translating like a machine. If you don't have your own communicative intent in the target language and you are simply transferring information from one language to another, then you are behaving like a machine. And that was actually countering that opinion was the reason why I got into teaching translation, to teach that you are a human, you are saying things in the target language, and you are not a machine decoding and encoding stuff in two different languages. And this has now changed with the language models, and not only with translation. It was only a couple of years ago when I asked Tanel Alumäe about end-to-end or end-to-end methods in speech recognition, and he said not yet. We still need separate models, separate acoustic models, separate language model, to take care of each step in the process separately. And now everybody is doing it end-to-end. It's simply you are throwing enormous amounts of data at general-purpose learning machines, and they are somehow automatically learning it. That's the thing that has changed. That's also a thing that has influenced the outcomes, the problems that society finds with AI.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Can you elaborate that on the problems?
Yes, if we are already ready to get into the language data topic, then 15 years ago, when we started discussing with lawyers about the legality of gathering corpora and publishing on it in law journals, then our point was that the use case of training language models is not part of what the legislators had in mind when creating copyright law, for instance. This use case didn't exist. Copyright means like the right to copy, and the problem that they tried to counter with copyright law was copying, creating copies, and it was not learning. It was not machine learning, especially, and therefore we could claim that creating a better spelling checker does not interfere with the author's rights in any way. The lawyers, when trying to come up with counter-arguments, they said that it could be that an author was actually dreaming of creating their own speller and competing with you in language technology. But that was far-fetched, and nobody really did that, at least not in practice, we can now say in retrospect. There were no problems with authors whatsoever, although we published in law journals saying that there should be problems, that the authors should be worried. And what has changed now, to come back to your actual question, is that language models are producing text which, at least in some situations, may compete with the authors whose texts the same language models was trained on. If you are a translator, for instance, and your translations go into a large translation memory and from there into training translation software, then you very well might lose your job or at least face a decrease in your rates as a result of that. Perhaps a bit less likely, but not completely unlikely, is that if you are a novelist, you write fiction, then perhaps in some not so distant future, children will not read your children's books anymore. They will read children's books written by a machine that was trained on your books. It's not excluded, and as a possibility. And this, since society has finally noticed it or paid attention, then this is something that also influences our work, influences our visibility in society, influences the visibility of NLP or now AI field. And it's not completely bad that we got this visibility. I would even say that it's more good than bad, that we get attention, we also get attention of people who have influence on how this thing is developing.
I think there are a couple of different aspects there. One thing I just want to clarify is that, so I understand the challenge is not that much about protecting the copy of the work or the core of the work that's being done, but more of not using that work to train a future competitor in certain sense.
Yes, well, technically, according to current legislation, this training is not regulated because training or machine learning didn't exist when the regulation was put in place. They are now working on regulating it, but strictly copyright only restricts making a copy. For instance, if if a news item is published on the national broadcaster's website, then I, as a biological learning machine, am allowed to read it. I'm allowed to update my mental model, both regarding language and the political situation, let's say, or the subject matter of that text. And I'm allowed to become a better person. I'm allowed to earn a higher salary in the future as a result of becoming a better person. So that's all okay. But as soon as we replace me with a machine, that the machine is reading the text for which it technically needs to create a copy. I mean, the copy on the back of my retina is not counted as a copy, but the copy that the machine makes to read the text is counted as a copy. And therefore, this is restricted. What is completely overlooked is that the learning machine, the biological learning machine that I have here, and the artificial learning machine that is in the computer are basically the same. Therefore, what is regulated is some side effect of what's really going on. They are not regulating the learning. They are not regulating the fact that I became a better person and increased my salary as a result, versus the machine learned to replace you as a translator. This is, I mean, I could also replace you as a translator after reading your translations. That's not forbidden. Doing it with a machine is forbidden. And this, if you want to go into a tangent, then artificial legal subjects might be an interesting thing to talk about. If we have lawyers as listeners, then they will run out of the room. To give citizenship to language models. That would remove the distinction between biological learning machines and artificial ones. But as long as this is not the case, then creating the copy, which is like a completely irrelevant intermediary step before machine learning, that is regulated. But the machine learning itself is not regulated.
Okay. And how much of it is discussion of intellectual property versus commercial interests?
These are orthogonal, I would say. Commercial interests are something that, especially in the creative world and in the academic world, are like the red towel to the bull, and everybody thinks that, especially those large major players like Meta, Google, and so on, they are so rich. We should somehow extract money from them, or at least we should prevent them from becoming even richer. And this sort of envy is understandable, but it's not rational, and it's not connected to these legal regulations. What is regulated is, yes, commercial purposes are an aspect of what is regulated both by intellectual property law and personal data protection. And as I learned only recently, it is regulated in different ways. What is commercial for one is not necessarily commercial for the other. Or if we distinguish between academic and commercial, then the line between academic and commercial is in different places for various areas of law, which makes it even more interesting. Commercial is something that irritates people. If somebody else is earning on what I'm doing, it irritates people, and people usually in this disregard the consideration that somehow these products or services or technologies need to reach people. And in our current society, the method for that is commerce. If you need a fridge that talks to you, then you need somebody who is commercially interested in producing fridges. You cannot have a university produce fridges. Or if you try to do that, as we actually did try in the National Program for Language Technology for several years, we tried to stipulate that you need to create end-user products. And this simply doesn't work. Mm-hmm. Universities are not interested, they are not competent, they are not the type of organization that is doing end-user products, especially maintaining them. Because project-based financing is notorious for creating products and then letting them be forgotten because nobody maintains them, because the project has ended. So we need commerce, we need commercial use in order for the innovations to reach the public. And this is only sideways connected to copyright or personal data protection.
Okay. It's definitely an interesting topic, and I liked what you said earlier that maybe it's a good thing that this attention and there is this public discourse on the topic. And for the international audience, that we in Estonia we went through a bit of a media cycle with the discussion of actually whether Estonia should be providing the Estonian language to the large model makers, and what the relationship there be, and what the commercial interest and impact and the future would look like. And I can say that this has definitely gotten me thinking about it. And actually, in one of the events that we actually met at, and there was this very interesting panel where you were in the panel. There was a representative
and so were you.
I jumped on the stage.
Yes.
Yes. And there was a representative of one of the large media houses in Estonia, and also Ministry of Culture. And I thought that was a very interesting intersection of the different interests and in the discussion, and the different kind of preserving our cultural heritage, the aspects, and protecting our authors and protecting our big thinkers and things like that. More immediate aspect of the media houses of providing news and really commercializing the content that is provided in the language and things like this. So I think there are very many different aspects. But I would like to go into the topic of, what is the strategic stakes here actually? You've coined the term of subgame in the game of AI. And maybe you can give a bit of an overview on that, and then we can dive in deeper.
Yes, that was that title was inspired by a book that I was reading at the time by Kaspar Group and Margus Niitso about strategic thinking, and it's in the English-speaking world. It's a well-known thing. Infinite games and finite. What was the proper word? Games. Thinking of such activities as games with rules, possible moves, outcomes that I want to get to, and also thinking of it as a game is a way of distancing yourself from a possible failure. That if you don't succeed, it's not the end of the world. It's I lost this match, and then there will be another one. And thinking of it as a game, especially in the distinction between infinite and finite games, an infinite game like preserving the Estonian language or advancing technology, there is no end goal. Like you simply need to keep on doing both. Or advancing the interests of authors, for that matter. This infinite game can consist of many smaller games, which are not necessarily infinite. and providing or making available Estonian training data to commercial language model trainers is one subgame that you need to complete in order to advance in the larger game. That simply struck me as a nice metaphor to use in the title. A bit of clickbait as well. This question whether we should, or the media attention that we got initially was about the question, should we give away our words to Meta? To be precise, it was not about large companies, it was Meta in particular. And since about half of the current corpus of written Estonian comes from the media, then of course the media houses were rightly upset that you are giving away our words to our worst enemy, who takes away our ad revenue. Of course, they acknowledge that these two topics are not related. They sometimes even acknowledge that departments, like Meta is a huge organization, the part that is developing language models is in no way related to the part that collects ad revenue. But still, there is so much emotion involved that cooperating with Meta in particular, and to a lesser extent with Google, is simply a no-go. Simply no, regardless of whether and how much they pay, no. Others are different. Like if we're talking about OpenAI, then that's completely okay, especially if we're talking about Mistral, who is also, in addition to being not involved in ad business, it's also European. And we sort of like the French, and so that's nice. Not to mention initiatives that are even closer to home, like University of Tartu or University of Turku. These are even better. But so there is a scale of being ready to give data. Also, what is sometimes not understood or not acknowledged, at least, is that giving data does not mean giving away data. We still have the data after we have given it to somebody else.
I thought maybe just to clarify and give a basis, actually brief this discussion of what the language corpus is, how it's collected, and what we're talking, what are we talking about here, and what it can be used for, and what is the significance.
Good question, and sorry for not elaborating myself. It's one of the things that seems so natural if you've been in it for 30 years, that you simply don't remember that you need to explain it. Especially in Estonia, if we use the same word, corpus, then this is completely foreign for people. It sounds like an army corps.
Or part of the building, or part of the hospital.
Yeah, exactly. So this is basically a lot of text. When creating corpora and also using the word for that started in the 80s and 90s, then there was a dream of creating balanced corpora, which meant gathering representative amounts of text from all kinds of language use. Newspapers, academic articles, radio broadcasts, spontaneous conversations, and so on. From every area of language use, we needed to, or we thought that we need a sample of text. Especially with the advancement of language technology and language models, where the amount of training data is more of an issue. We started including everything in the corpora. So corpus is basically a collection of all language data that we can lay our hands on. And we distinguish between the biggest best known type of corpus is written language, which is basically newspaper texts and legislation, academic papers, fiction, also blogs, forums, chat transcripts, so written expressions of verbal communication. There are also spoken corpora. For instance, feel free to donate your podcast to somebody who is training language models.
English. It's in English.
English, yes, but
Yes.
They might be interested in Estonian accent in English.
Absolutely.
Two different types of Estonian accent. I understand you are more like in the. You have learned your English in the US.
Yes.
More in the UK. So two different types of Estonglish.
That's an interesting story. When I was in US, I spent 10 years lived in US, and then at one point everybody was saying that they sound really southern, which I was very surprised. And now, actually being back in Estonia, I am sensing, maybe you cannot hear it, but I'm sensing that I'm more interested in kind of British English and having some influences and writing and things of that nature. But I interrupted what you were saying. Actually, I did want to ask a bit of a dum-dum question. So it's the combination of actually kind of a dictionary, then the grammar rules, and then the content, or how is that kind of compiled?
Not really. It's simply texts as they are.
Simply text.
Yes.
Okay.
Like a child would hear if you throw a child into the world and the child starts hearing other people talk, simply getting linguistic input without any explanation in the beginning. They don't get a grammar book. They don't get a dictionary. They even, in most cases, don't get casual explanations of what this word meant that I just used. The mother simply uses words, and the child somehow picks them up. Language models currently are the same, that they simply get unstructured linguistic input. We used to do a thing called tagging, morphological tagging or a part of speech tagging, saying what type of word it is. And then syntactic tagging, meaning what is the function of this word in this sentence. But currently, training language models, as we know them now, does not use this kind of tagging. So for current language model training, it's simply throwing a lot of authentic language at them without any explanation. Now, developers of language models are thinking of ways to include meta information about language, like basically giving it also a grammar book, in addition to giving a lot of text. In some cases, we are giving dictionaries, like for domain-specific machine translation. Like if you try to translate mouse, then for some languages you should know whether it's biological or the computer peripheral. So we might give them dictionaries saying that please follow this terminology in your translation, but that's about it. Mostly it's simply a lot of unstructured linguistic input. But this accent thing is actually a thing, because there are people in society speaking with accents. They also call the emergency services with their accent, and the machine at the emergency service needs to understand their accent, or needs to understand their message despite their accent. Therefore, we also collect accent corpora for which our speech might be a thing. Also learner corpora. What is it that learners are making mistakes with at various stages of their learning, and all kinds of other specialized corpora. But this general purpose written language is the largest.
Mm-hmm. There are two ways or two directions that I would like to go here now. One is the direction of the different case scenarios. What happens if we provide the language corpora, and what happens if we don't provide? So what will we be missing if we don't provide?
I was at a similar recording for a TV station, and when the interviewer ran out of questions, then the cameraman helped him out, saying that I asked him if we don't provide the data, then who will turn in their grave the most, and why Koidula? Koidula is a famous poet from centuries ago. So if we don't provide the data, I need to take a step back, because it's not necessarily sure that providing data is necessary. It might be that language models or the technology behind language models somehow develops in some direction that I cannot foresee at the moment. Perhaps there are people in the world who already think about technical solutions where huge amounts of text are not necessary. Because we must admit that children learn faster. Children need less repetition to learn language than or less smaller volumes of data. Because if we look at the volume of current corpora, especially in English, then it's thousands of lifetimes of human linguistic input. It is completely possible that technology will develop in such a way that Estonian can be supported without increasing the volume of Estonian training data made available to the trainers. But according to current knowledge or current technology, we need more Estonian data. Estonian amounts to 0.1% in the training data of the biggest models to date. And this is clearly not enough for it to be as fluent in Estonian or as informed in Estonian, as informed for an Estonian language question, content-wise as well, as it is in English. And therefore, our current thinking is that, at least for the time being, we need more Estonian data. We need as much Estonian data as we can possibly get our hands on and provide legally to the trainers. So if we remain at the current technological thinking that language data is necessary, then providing the language data is a necessary precondition of Estonian support in the models, and this in turn is necessary for the survival of Estonian. Okay, I agree with the people who say stop fear-mongering, stop frightening us with perspective that if we don't hand over this file, then the next minute Estonian will die out. Of course it won't. But nevertheless, we have children in schools, also children whose mother tongue is something else than Estonian, who are studying in Estonian and whose linguistic input is increasingly produced by machines. Therefore, the children, as learning machines, will pick up Estonian from those machines. And we would like that input to be as high quality as possible, and as fluent as possible, as trustworthy as possible. Because if the answers are not as good if we ask in Estonian as they are when we ask in English, then we switch to English asking, which will transfer our own or will shift our own language models. and especially it will shift the language models, the biological language models of children who are only learning Estonian. Also, the overall linguistic landscape, like what we see on streets, what we hear on the radio, what we hear from people passing by, what language books do we read. All of this slightly shifts anyway. It's already shifting. You see, two Estonian guys are doing a podcast in English, trying to do, in my case. And if technology also is somehow biased towards English or biased away from Estonian, then this adds another drop to this shift away from Estonian. It is not the end of the game. It's not.
Absolutely. And in my everyday activities, I'm advising organizations and businesses how to be ready for the artificial general intelligence era. And one of the arguments that I make is that, or one of the differentiators I make between AI and AGI is that AI is very much a technological discussion. That, how do we use different technologies to do many things in a better way? When we're talking about AGI, we're talking about actually another intellect joining the conversation. And in that context, it's definitely interesting that intellect is as fluent in Estonian to be a good partner or good conversation partner. And even if it's a competitor that understands the local context and everything like this. So from that standpoint, I think that's actually quite crucial. But I also read that there was this influential AI advisor in Estonia, Indrek Sepo, who said that it's not just the language, but it's actually the context behind the language, and the
yes,
content and the meaning, and what are the different approaches that we can include that more.
One obvious approach is to simply increase the amount of Estonian-originated training material describing Estonian culture, like the texts that we have all read, and that the machine should also have read them. For instance, at the moment, everybody knows Kevade by Oskar Luts in Estonia. This is a compulsory book in schools and
compulsory, most loved, very, very influential.
Exactly. Yes.
A cornerstone of Estonian literature.
Exactly, and everybody knows it by heart. And when I said compulsory in this case, I didn't mean it derogatively. And it's just to say that everybody has read it. But since the author died less than 75 years ago, it's not in the open corpus. Therefore, the machine has not read it yet. It has read Tammsaare. Exactly.
Yes, because there's just how many references do we have in our everyday language or in life situations or something like this from that book? That's actually quite significant.
These cultural references are nice to have, I would say. But if we get to value judgments, like is violence an option in international relations? Is diversity a benefit? Do small countries have the right to live? Is democracy a value? Then we would definitely like that the machine has read the types of text that we like, rather than text produced by authoritarian regimes or yes, you know what yes. You know which country I mean.
Yes, absolutely. Just one more question on this providing the language and all of this. A whole lot of language is provided by people having conversations with LLMs today, not having done the click of do not include our conversation in the future learning. How much is that having an impact or it being part of the discussion that this, this language is provided by just regular usage of the language models anyway?
I don't know. Large companies training language models are not very open about their methods for obvious reasons. And there are multiple stages in the training process where this input could be useful or could be used. And training the base model, like including that material in the original training corpus of the base model, is just one possibility. And I suspect that they are not doing that. It's more likely, at least according to my relatively limited technical understanding, is that they are doing it at later stages. They are definitely using those thumbs. If you like a response better than another response, then they reinforce the one that you liked, or they have the model reinforce that. And they most probably analyze the conversations, the flow of conversations in terms of how does my model behave, how does it cope with this situation, and then provide instruction data and alignment data about how the model should behave in the future. How should it format? Should it be briefer when talking to Estonians than it is talking to native English speakers? Because this is something that Estonians expect. They are briefer, they are less polite talking to each other than normal English speakers. And should it apologize, for instance? How does the user react when the model apologizes? I suspect that those large commercial models have got a lot of feedback from Estonian users saying, "Stop apologizing. You're not a human. I don't expect you to be apologizing." And I suspect they use those transcripts or that data in later stages of creating the chatbot.
Yes, that's what I meant actually in kind of iteratively. That building the next level of the models or the next learning processes and things like this. Something
that took me a while to come to terms with is that this training process is not done every day or every minute. It's according to my understanding, currently not possible to learn completely iteratively. That yes, it does have my own memory or the memory of my user session. Okay, yes, the volume of this memory is limited. It will start forgetting from the beginning of it. But the model itself does not get better as it talks to me. A human would get better immediately. Like it is continuously updating its language models. But I understand that this is actually also coming and yes, promised like within a year already. Definitely. So. But I was actually yesterday, I was looking up a date and stumbled upon slides from a presentation that I held on the topic in 2016. And there I said it's a matter of months, not years. Well, there is, yes, in the announcements and promises and belief, exactly. There is certain amount of optimism, but at the same time, looking at the exponential speed of the development and advancement, and also this kind of a positive sense of our arms race between the companies, that it does look quite promising. And now maybe to kind of wrap up the part of the language corporate question, what would be the ideal relationship with the model providers? I'm assuming that Mark Zuckerberg and Dario Amadei and Elon Musk and Sam Altmans are listening to this podcast. So what would be our message? Are they? Thank you for listening. No delusions of grandeur here. I don't know. At that level, I don't know. I haven't
But
thought.
more in general, let's just leave that joke aside. But what is our ask?
Yes.
Or what is our, not ask, is that's a bit too aggressive, being Estonians, but what is our proposal?
Yes, but it's a good thought experiment. If I could get Sam Altman here, what would I say? That's a good thought experiment. I haven't thought about that because that's not a realistic opportunity. And I have thought what I would say to an engineer, or what I would ask an engineer, and I would ask for information first. This black box thing, this non-transparency of their technologies. I would ask, how can you use our material? I would not propose that you should use it in this way. I would ask, and actually there have been opportunities to ask that to a couple of technical people in those large corporations, and I have got meaningful answers. For instance, that if we now plan to increase Estonian corpus size 4 times within this year, it has more or less followed Moore's law so far, doubling every 2 years in size. But now we have, partly for political reasons, promised to make it 4 times bigger during this year. So it will increase from 0.1% in the training material to 0.4%. That doesn't influence its fluency in Estonian at all.
That's considering that other materials stand still.
Yes. Yes. Even if others would stand still,
yes,
then our efforts would in that direction would not increase Estonian support noticeably. This is a meaningful answer that I got from talking to a large player in the field on a technical level, and therefore our ask is perhaps even more precise than our proposal. That we mainly ask, how can we help, rather than proposing that you should do this so that we would be happy.
But that would be an interesting conversation to have, and what would that relationship be? And considering, we don't have to be so humble that we have approaches and access, I think, to some significant discussions, and that would be an interesting thing. Maybe to kind of continue on this arc with the models and where things going in the future. If we take a little bit longer perspective, one thought that I've had is that the transformation from not being able to communicate with technology in Estonian just a few years back, it was very cumbersome, and even with Waze or Google Maps or something like this that we tried, it was very odd. Today it's actually quite flexible, quite fluent. You get maybe a different accent, and maybe it sounds a little bit like Finnish, or maybe it sounds a little bit like American or something like this. But as far as conversation, as far as the grammar, the rate of the increase of quality is just astounding. And the technologies that are coming out, and we all have phones now that can do instantaneous translation and things like this. Where do you think the language is actually going? Is there a stage in the future where the language kind of as a separate entity stops existing? Kind of the same way that when we're using right now technology, we're not really worrying about it, whether it's Pascal, whether it's C++, whether it's JavaScript, whether it's something else underneath. That there is this kind of the completely different kind of UX layer or usability layer that will be kind of merging or something new completely developed.
I have 2 answers. I hope I remember both. One is that if you mean the distinction between different natural languages, like between Estonian and Latvian, then the disappearance of this is prevented by humans' desire to create borders, to keep the in-group in and out-group out, to have an identity that is different from the identity of other people. This, it's a well-known example how Latin language disintegrated into Romance languages that we know now. People moved to geographically distant places and started developing or started evolving, to be more precise, their own language. Also, we can see this with English now. If we look at Englishes spoken in various places, like this British-US distinction, or Euro-English that is spoken in Brussels, or the Estonian English that we speak, we use things like advertisement or modal instead of the way the words are pronounced in other varieties of English. So this moving apart, this creation of different languages is natural to human society, and it goes back to our hunter-gatherer heritage, and there is no escaping that in the time frames that we're talking about in technological development. The other the other answer that I have is about natural languages versus something more precise. Natural language is ambiguous by design. It's not a programming language. You can always interpret natural language utterances in more than one way. There is always more than one way to express a thought. And this is by design because unlike those precise artificial languages, natural language is able to or can be used to express anything, including things that have never been expressed in that language before. It's not designed. I mean, we don't first agree on the meaning of a word and then use it. We first use it, and then we, after only later, we start arguing and sometimes fighting over what this word means. But usage comes first. And this is perhaps another avenue worth going into is why do companies like Pactum, who is negotiating contracts, why should do artificial systems at two companies negotiate in human language if they could just as well use something more precise that they both understand without any ambiguity? But they are using human language for this same reason, that it is ambiguous, and this ambiguity of human language is a benefit. Therefore, I think that human language, due to its ambiguity and its ability to self-develop, like ability to be expanded spontaneously on the spot. We could invent, I would have a bit of a difficulty in English, but in Estonian it would be easy to, or in somebody's native language, it's easy to create a new word. You, in spontaneous speech, use it and get it understood on the spot. You can't do that with artificial languages. So these benefits are the reason why I think that natural languages as such will continue existing.
But I meant also there's another aspect with the natural languages there as well. And this is something that I've noticed that as an avid user of ChatGPT, in everyday activities, you're using it as a business partner, using it as some coaching questions and things like this. I've actually noticed that I've started using it in two languages and sometimes interchanging them in the mid-sentence, going between Estonian and English. And it's also interesting to see that it responds also with using both languages sometimes. Or if I've used a certain word, saying that, how do we bring, some Estonian word into the conversation or into this concept, and then it starts actually using that word in Estonian and while continuing other discussion in English. So that was kind of that I was thinking that if we go through this kind of instantaneous translations with between the natural languages and the conversations, whether there will be completely new kind of language mergers that will be happening, and interesting what the future holds there.
There might be instructions then. You might instruct your tool to only respond in one language, or to only switch to another language if explicitly asked. I also use it in two languages when I need the content of the answer I ask in English, and when I need Estonian text to be produced, then I ask in Estonian. Or if I ask how should this be expressed in Estonian, then this question also goes in Estonian. But this is like the most simple explanation of what a language model is. It's a machine to predict the next word.
Yes.
So, and it also predicts what the first word of the answer should be given the question. And if the question is in Estonian, then most probably the first word of the answer would be in Estonian. And this nicely explains why it responds in Estonian if asked in Estonian. But there are situations where you might actually want to instruct it to respond in another language, like in language learning. If a beginning learner is trying to acquire passive knowledge of the other language, then it's beneficial if the machine responds in the language being learned.
Oh, absolutely.
At the same time, the user is not proficient in the language yet to be able to formulate useful questions in that language. So it might be that there might be a stage where it is systematically useful to accept input in the user's native language and provide answers in the language that the user needs to get more input on.
And now, going back to language being kind of the foundation of culture and foundation of intellect, and then having those significant and foundation of identity. Maybe a bit of a discussion on how do you see the role of the institute changing going forward in the discussion with AI as the protector of those values and those core foundational elements of our existence in life?
Well, the objective doesn't change. It's still protecting, or I would actually like to say developing, because protecting, you might protect an exhibit in a museum to keep it from changing, to keep it from deteriorating. That I don't think is a good mindset. That I have something sacred that I need to keep from changing. I like more the metaphor of evolution, that if something has stopped changing, then this something is dead. The only instance, or the only time when a biological organism is not changing is after its death, and we don't want that to the language. So we want it changing, and therefore I like the objective of developing Estonian better than the objective of protecting, maintaining, whatever of Estonian. So this objective is still the same, only it could be that the methods are changing. For instance, we are doing both research in the academic sense and user research on use of sources of linguistic information like dictionaries and grammar books. What is it that people are looking for in a dictionary and in a grammar book, and how they are looking for it? Up to basic UX questions. Is it better to have clicks, or is it better to have scrolling? Is it better to have the logo in the top left corner or the top right corner? Should we have additional information in a menu or in a tooltip? These kinds of questions as well, but also questions about the content of linguistic information. For instance, for a while now, the line between lexical and grammatical information, or between words and sentences, is blurring. Estonian is a language where you can freely create compounds. In English, you can create phrases like, I don't know, office chair. This office is a thing, chair is a thing, but you can also create office chair, which is a thing of its own. And you can then create longer chunks, like being tired of sitting on your office chair, which might become a thing for certain medical conditions or whatever. And therefore, the user, we might expect that the user is also looking for information about linguistic chunks of various length. It might look up a word, or it might have a question about their text, like, is this text polite enough? Or please correct grammar mistakes in this text. This is a continuum between the traditional paper dictionary, where you need to know the alphabet by heart to be able to look up words, and the language model, to whom you simply throw your text and ask it to make it better, and it does it in seconds. So somewhere in that continuum, we need to position our offering of linguistic information. And to me, it's quite certain that this is shifting towards longer chunks of linguistic information, or longer chunks of language use that we're talking about. People don't necessarily have the meta terminology. They don't know what a word is, what a compound word is, what declination is, and so on. They simply want to know how to express this thought that they have. They want to express it better in a more understandable way for this particular readership. So the kind of help that people are needing from us is shifting. And of course, like we talked before, it's completely possible that in some near future, we need to provide explicit meta-linguistic information to language models as well, or whatever those tools will be called next week. And we need to be ready for that, to provide machine-readable linguistic information. Current grammars, at least for Estonian, are not machine-readable. They are intended for humans, and there have been efforts in creating machine-readable grammars of Estonian, but they are far from being completed. So that's also an avenue to work on. Sense distinctions in dictionaries. How many senses does the word cat have, for instance? Do we consider all kinds of metaphorical uses? Do we consider large wildcats, and so on and so on? This is also something that we are grappling with. How should we first decide the granularity of sense distinctions for a dictionary, and then how should we make it make the presentation such that it's useful both for human users and, in the very near future, artificial users.
Okay. Now, switching gears a little bit, kind of the logic and the thought of this podcast is also to discuss those different aspects and discuss how the advancement of technology is speeding up, and at the same time utilizing the experience that Estonia has as a digital society. having the experiences of having one of the most successful e-governments, having this experience of us all living in digital society, having it's in our DNA, in our blood, and then having those things. So and also how that could be useful for our good partners and the rest of the world. And I would like to ask about two aspects here. One is the discussion about we talked about the relationship with the model providers and things like this. But what are the core things that we really need to keep in the country, and what are the core elements of the that support or protect our sovereignty, our independence, our the functioning as a state from the linguistic standpoint? That's one part, and then I'll continue with the second one.
Yes, this linguistic standpoint is one, but sovereignty is also about placement of the data centers.
Yes.
There are users or clients of those tools who simply require that all of the data is processed in their basement, period. They don't allow it to even to data centers elsewhere in Estonia, not to mention uploading them into servers based in US. That's one thing, but linguistically, also from a conversation with an official at a large government agency, I asked, can you give me, for the conversations that we have on this language data and the necessity to have language models perform in Estonian, can you give me realistic use cases, actual use cases from a reputable large government agency? He didn't understand the question. What do you mean? What other language could we use it in? My people don't speak English. It's as simple as that. We need it. For you and me, it's okay to ask ChatGPT in English, and we sometimes do it voluntarily. But for many people, it's not an option. They either use it in Estonian or they don't use it. Mm-hmm. This is part of sovereignty. This is part of human dignity, even, I would say, and part of sovereignty also in terms of economic independence, economic growth. If the workers at some distant factory who have maybe only basic education will be able to use the modern production tools that will be in their factory anyway, then it's simply they no longer learn which buttons to press for the machine to work. They need to converse with that machine in natural language, and if that language is not Estonian, then they are unable to converse with that machine. So and that in turn influences everything, availability of workforce and employment rates, possible unrest in society due to high unemployment. So it all comes nicely together towards the topic of this podcast, general AI. The whole of the society being taken over. No, not taking over is the wrong expression. It's like being occupied by alien forces, but AI being utilized in all aspects of society. The more it is utilized, the more the G in AGI is justified, the more it needs to be in Estonian, because the more there are people who are not comfortable using it in another language.
Yes, and this kind of I was about to go there, but before I do, I did want to ask: is that this is one part of where the institute is kind of protecting the Estonian culture and heritage and the sovereignty, and started saying dignity as well. But I think it's the matter. But I also wanted to ask you about the collaboration with the other institutes in the other countries, and then working together and sharing the experiences and how much of that is taking place. What are the different formats? I don't know anything about it, so this is maybe once again very dumb question. But and maybe also an aspect for the international listeners that what are the collaboration opportunities with the institute in Estonia?
There is academic cooperation, of course.
Yes.
We go to conferences, other people go to conferences, and we read each other's publications. That's the normal academic discourse. What might need improving is exchange of experiences regarding policy, exchange of good things to try, bad things to try, what has worked, what approaches are being taken in various countries. And this is also being done, and perhaps in slightly different ways or through different channels than the academic world. And this is also related to the dual purpose of our institute. It's first and foremost a research institute, but it also does have policymaking obligations, especially in recent years. And we need to ramp up our efforts in doing more cooperation with policymakers in other countries to learn from their mistakes, successes, and hopefully provide something useful in return. Because in this fast-moving field of regulation as well, there are things that people are trying out. There is no obvious way forward. People are trying stuff, and therefore it would be beneficial to learn from others what they have tried, what has worked, what has not worked, what kind of regulation changes are acceptable in each society, what kind of regulation changes are even possible, given that copyright law is based on Berne Convention and personal data protection is based on GDPR. How much room for maneuvering do we have at all? How much have others taken the liberty to deviate from the perceived meaning of those international documents? So this is something that we are working on. We are very happy about any kinds of contacts with people in other countries also dealing with these questions.
Excellent. And now we get to the AGI part of it. So what will happen, when we have this this beautiful agentic world, when all the office work is done by agents, all the physical work is done by robots, all the logistics is done by self-driving cars, and the humans are just kind of enjoying life. And
I think you answered your question. Then we enjoy life.
Yes. But yeah, I don't even know what the question there is. I'm just kind of curious, and how do we get the interaction with the agents and the robots and all of this, and how much that goes into the kind of a natural language mode, or will there be another level of more efficient or efficient communication, and we don't have to worry about that?
Something that I haven't been able to make up my mind about is whether the transition from today's world into that world is a continuous process, or does it include some kind of jump? Does the G somehow creep into the AI, or is it some kind of revolution. That at one point there is no AGI, and at the next point there is AGI. I don't know.
How do you define for yourself AGI, by the way? Because that's one of the most discussed topics these days. I liked Sam Altman's saying that if you put 10 OpenAI researchers in the room, you get 14 different definitions of AGI. When you say AGI, what do you mean? I'll tell you mine.
I thought of starting asking you what do you mean by AGI, but I took as definition this agentic world that you described, that everything is being done by, all work is being done by artificial entities, and we simply enjoy life. Now, this for me entails that also innovation is done by artificial agencies, which means that AGI, unlike current tools, should be able to have intentions. One of those intentions should be the intention to get better, and it should be able to somehow develop itself. I emphasize somehow because I don't know how. And also I don't have a good answer if you ask how do humans develop themselves, or what is it that we have and they don't. I mean, the machines don't. I'm not able to formulate that. But to me, this world that you described, all work being done by machines or artificial entities, is what I understand by AGI. Okay. Or at least I try to cooperate with another human in this process, and I try to understand it in a way that I think you hope I understand it,
For me, I kind of see the different levels of the definition. And one part of it is when the machine intellect is more intelligent than humans. Considering that today they say the language models are IQ 140 or 120, 140 or higher than that, and in quite many, and you have increasing amount of examples. The Turing test passed, giving better diagnosis than doctors, even doctors with using AI. Having the PAR exam in US passed with the expert level results, all the work that's being done with the protein folding and things like this. So there are so many different aspects when machines are way more capable than the human intellect is. Better in programming, better in certain math areas and things like this. Not all math. So from the general purposes that I think machine capabilities, everybody's been using ChatGPT or Claude or anything like this, I think that it's pretty safe to say that it's smarter than most humans in very many things. And it's also a very important thing to make the comparison that there is no human that's better than all other humans in everything. That there is, Einstein had its strengths, he has his weaknesses. We all, excel in certain things and we're much less successful. From that standpoint, I'm saying that, we're there. That we have the models that are very capable. There are different the use cases that, the intelligence is at par or better. Of course, the question is when it's really general, when it's better than all the humans combined, some ways to go. But that is also kind of a definition that's for the practical purposes of the discussion of, and my business is just how do we get ready for the AGI? For that discussion, the question of AI being more capable than all the humans combined is actually not that relevant. It's more of a question on, how are we ready for the fact that this intelligence is coming in very fast? We're used to the fact that technology is much more capable than humans are using it for. This has been the case, for decades when we talk about IT technology. That with AI, I think the gap is increasing. and the new capabilities coming on, and how do we engage, and how do we bring it into conversation. Now, the question about the gradual movement into AGI versus kind of radical jump, I'm a believer that it's more gradual, and I think we're actually underestimating how much it's happening right now. I can say that in many activities, I am multiples of more productive than I was 3 years ago, 5 years ago. The amount of time that it takes me to research certain thing, or even research your background for this interview, and go through that research and put together the list of questions that I have in front of me, and kind of the concept, and sharing this with you and going back and forth. That's, it would have taken me a couple of days. This time it takes me an hour to have this material together and then kind of start learning it myself. So from that standpoint, I think we're there. When we'll be fully agentic, and when this will happen, that all the work will be done, office work by agents and physical work by the robots and all of this, I think the capability is, of course, much nearer than when it will really happen. So, but it's definitely an exciting world, and I think. But what makes it even more exciting is that I've kind of seen or understood the IT era. I saw internet era coming, and now seeing the AI wave and AGI wave, and I'm sensing much more whiplashes between looking at the technology and the developments in the technology and what's coming, versus our readiness and capabilities and willingness of understanding it. And I think we had more of a luxury in the past of saying, I don't know that yet, I'll need some time to learn, or let other people do certain things. If you look at how fast the models are advancing, how fast the utilization of the models is advancing, how much the science itself is advancing, thanks to the usage of the models and things like this, I think this is a whole new ballgame and a completely different world.
I quite agree that it's a completely different world, that we, during known human history, we haven't had a transformation as impactful as what we're having now. I like to say that future archaeologists, when they dig us up, then they will look, that was the generation who saw that with their own eyes. So yes, I agree that it will be hugely impactful. We don't foresee yet all the things that will happen. But I wouldn't be worried about, or I wouldn't attach too much importance to the fact that it can play chess better than me, or that it can play chess better than all humans combined. There have been machines who can lift more stuff than all humans combined, but it hasn't changed society. What I think will change society radically is when the machines will be able to replicate and develop themselves, like to go slightly sideways. Evolution is a tried mechanism of innovation. If they either start using evolution, let the weaker language models perish, and only the better ones survive and have offspring, or if they discover some mechanism of innovation that is at least comparable to evolution as a mechanism of innovation, then that would be the interesting point. Mm-hmm. And that's the thing where I don't know whether it's gradual or abrupt. Maybe some language model in some data center somewhere is at this moment is discovering a mechanism that that will challenge evolution as the mechanism for evolution, for innovation, for expansion, and that's completely possible. And I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is always also an interesting kind of thought point. That it would be interesting to know what is really, how far they've really gotten in, OpenAI research labs, or or DARPA's, or what Palantir is doing, and all of this is how far we actually are with the technologies. And I feel it's much further than it's obviously much further than we know and we can imagine at this stage. But yeah, it's an exciting world, and this is something that I think if we, with the current human understanding, can kind of grasp what AGI might be, what the superintelligence will look like. I think that will be a completely different world. But there is also, I'm kind of thinking I don't remember who it was that, I think it was Ray Kurzweil or somebody who said that they really don't like the term artificial intelligence because it creates this layer of, fake or unnatural, something like this. But it's just an intelligence that it's not the human brain produced intelligence, although you have different thoughts there as well. Whether the human brain is just a very efficient computer manipulating language models and bringing out the thoughts and things like this. But before we go into too meta over here, it's definitely an interesting discussion.
That's a book that I would recommend at this stage, Being You, by Anil Seth, and he claims that it's not a computer, it's a network of computers, in some cases competing each other. I mean, the human brain, that we have different areas of the brain competing for what the whole organism should be doing. Or how the organism should understand stuff, or what the organism should be thinking. That was an eye-opening book for me, especially on the question of whether or how or when this so-called artificial thing will approach humans. Perhaps it won't. Perhaps it will go in a completely different direction. But yes, that was a very nice thought that artificial in AGI is redundant. What follows AI should be GI, not AGI.
Yes, and that's why language is so important. Of understanding, or at least between humans, to have that way of communicating and sharing their understanding. And yes, so thoughts from your side. I think I've kind of gone through my prepared questions in one way or another. Are there things that, or maybe we've kind of discussed it also, but what does excite you the most when we're looking at the future of AGI and all of those things, and what kind of scares you the most?
The second part, I don't know. I mean, nothing really scares me in that direction. I mean, stuff does scare me, but not from that area. Even if we're thinking about catastrophic scenarios like humanity being wiped out tomorrow, then, I mean, there is nothing I could do about it. If it will happen, then it will happen, and that's okay. Is my thought that this is not something that I would be afraid of. But what I'm excited about is I think the very fact that I don't know what's going to happen, that there is opportunity to learn, there is opportunity to be surprised at future developments of technology and regulations and society, to see how all this will work out, like how will children learn when they get those tools, what will happen to office workers when all office work is being done by language models, will they design some new bureaucratic system where they will work, or will they go to the countryside, start enjoying life? These are the things that excite me to see what will happen in a completely different world. Our generation is lucky. We have seen 3 different types of country. Soviet system, then this Wild West of the beginning.
Our generation in Estonia, yes.
In Estonia, yes, sorry. Or in Eastern,
or in the region.
In the region. We saw the Soviet system, we saw the Wild West, the complete unregulatedness of the beginning of the 90s, and now we have entered normal.
In fairness, we should say Wild East, but...
Wild East, yes. But we are now having another opportunity, perhaps even bigger than those changes, to see a change that not every generation gets to see. And this is something that excites me.
For me, it's also adding those, it's actually, I think there is some foundational changes that can really happen with in health and the expansion of the expectation of the years to come, and how long the life and longevity and everything like this can happen. So it may not be that it's a future architecture, but it's like when we're working with architecture in 500 years ourselves, looking back at what we were thinking. And the other part is definitely, it's quite interesting to see when the computer-brain interface and interfaces advance, and we really get the boost of actually the fiber optic speed between our thinking and the expression between us, because language is a great thing. It's a wonderful thing, and also the human perception and things like this. But actually, the bit rate of the conversation and communication between us is quite slow. It's quite slow, and this is something, and that area of then having the combined intelligence and the human general intelligence that can come from that. And I think that's where the jumps will happen, and the completely different the ways the societies will operate, the humanity will operate, the life and everything like this, and the consciousness and thinking and all of those. And crazy to think about that this is, it's feeling within reach and fairly close. Maybe not 5 years, maybe not 10 years, but in 20, 30 years, absolutely. And by that time, we've discovered the cure to the disease called aging. So it's a very exciting world.
Well, I've sort of given up on that hope that, yes, it will come, but not during my lifetime. I will probably be one of the last generations who still dies, but that's also okay. And this faster communication is a good example of what I call gradual, because just like language develops not all at once, it doesn't, a new word doesn't appear in the language, like in the language knowledge of all speakers at once. But it develops by like an evolution. There are local improvements, and then some of those improvements spread. The same could happen in your particular example of faster communication between humans. If we two could get implants and then some cable between us and form some combined super intelligence, then there will be people around who have not made that step yet. So for society or for humanity, the change will be gradual as more and more people get the implants, and that will not happen instantaneously. That's what I mean by gradual, that changes, including technological advancements, will spread gradually through society rather than being a flip of a switch.
Oh, absolutely. But even these days, the utilization of technology, there are people who are spending their days and lives technologically connected, and there are people who are still in Himalayas just focusing on Zen meditation and being
very happy.
Yes. So this is another part of it, is that that I'm kind of thinking of with curiosity, that when there will be this free time at hand, that we don't have to do anything, we really don't have to work, and the concept of work kind of disappears as a sustenance. And I like the abundance topics and Ray Kurzweil's and Peter Diamandis' discussions and all of this. So from that standpoint, it's curious to see where the entire humanity, how much of it will move up in the Maslow pyramid and how much will kind of stay, and what will happen. But it's a good opportunity.
One possibility is that some will move up, some will move down.
Yes.
As they say that in the future you have two choices, whether you are building robots or whether your boss is a robot.
So, yes. Or you're just doing something else and robots are taking care of the work-like part.
Yes, provided they tolerate you.
But I think we're starting to go quite meta and quite philosophical, yes. and it's been quite a good conversation already. And I think it's time to wrap it up for this time. I'm sure it will not be a last conversation that we'll have. But I'm really appreciating you coming to the podcast, especially trusting the podcast at this really early stage, as you are the second guest. And I really appreciate it. And I congratulate you one more time on being elected director again, and really looking forward to our conversations in the future.
Thank you so much for having me here, and always a pleasure to discuss with you, also at various events where we bump into each other. So thank you very much.
Beautiful. Thank you.